Heated phone call between Trump and Peña Nieto leads to them cancelling yet another meeting. South Korea's president reveals that North Korea is ready to talk to the US. Buffett's Berkshire stands to gain $37 billion windfall from tax reform plan. And Mexican entrepreneurs prefer Facebook for promoting their e-commerce brands. Hello and welcome to today's edition of Mexico News Network's Breaking News Business. I'm Elliot Bullman. Let's go straight to the information. US and Mexican officials this week scrapped plans for Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto to visit the US after a contentious call with President Donald Trump, in which the two leaders clashed over Trump's insistence that Mexico pay for his promised border wall. A Mexican official told the Post that Trump lost his temper, but US officials instead described the president as frustrated and exasperated. The border wall, with Trump's promises Mexico will pay for it and Mexico's insistence it will not, has become a diplomatic flashpoint, poisoning relations between the two leaders and undercutting bilateral affairs. The conflict over the wall has placed acute pressure on the US-Mexico relationship, but Trump's border approach to dealings with the US's southern neighbor threatens to have a lasting and perhaps more significant impact on ties between the two countries. Hours after the tense phone call, Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor, called Peña Nieto to help smooth things over, according to the Post. Kushner is close with Mexican Foreign Minister Luis Videgaray, who is a close advisor to Peña Nieto. Videgaray resigned as finance minister after Trump's summer 2016 visit to Mexico, which was reportedly Videgaray's idea, but Peña Nieto appointed him foreign minister a few months later. In other news, the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics ended as it started, with geopolitics being played out in a packed stadium and in front of a global television audience. During the closing ceremony, South Korea's President Moon revealed that North Korea is ready to enter into dialogue with the United States, hours after a furious statement from the North that described fresh sanctions announced by Washington as an act of war. Pyongyang has not confirmed the offer, but it has often said it's willing to talk without any preconditions. Meanwhile, the US State Department responded by saying nuclear disarmament must be the end goal of any dialogue. South Korean media is abuzz with suggestions that North and US talks could still take place while the respective delegations are still in town. North Korea has sent an 8-person team across the border, including General Kim Il, a senior diplomat handling North American affairs. Meanwhile, Alison Hooker, a Korea's specialist from the US National Security Council, is part of the US delegation. The scene could now be set for a more low-key meeting than the failed attempt with Mr. Pence earlier this month. Moving on. US billionaire Warren Buffett says his conglomerate has received a profit boost of $29 billion as a result of President Donald Trump's tax reforms. The boon results from the diversified conglomerate lowering its tax liability on appreciated investments, according to Barclays. The measure of assets minus liabilities rose 12%, a number that corresponds to the earnings gain the company could receive. Mr. Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, opposes the plan because he believes in higher taxes for the rich and has said publicly that he would have preferred a different tax bill. In his letter to investors, Mr. Buffett said the tax cut accounted for nearly half of the firm's gain in net worth during 2017. Republicans have argued that the tax reform will boost economic growth. Passing the bill through Congress was a major victory for President Trump. He called it the largest tax cut in the history of our country and a gift to the nation. The reforms give the vast majority of taxpayers lower tax bills in the immediate future. However, those tax cuts expire in 2025. Berkshire Hathaway has holdings in freight rail, major insurance companies, real estate, newspapers, and utilities. According to Fortune magazine's ranking of world billionaires, Buffett is worth $87 billion, behind only Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, the founders of Microsoft and Amazon respectively. In other news, A survey conducted by Facebook reveals that 1 in 3 respondents in Mexico are building their business supported by the platform. A little more than a year after the Facebook store feature began operating in Mexico, 68% of Mexican SMEs said that being on the platform has helped them increase their sales, and 59% have hired more employees due to the growth in demand. According to the study, Challenges of E-commerce Mexico 2017, conducted by the Higher Institute for Internet Development, Facebook is among the top 10 most used sites to buy fashion and electronic categories. Meanwhile, in the travel segment, which is the most demanded of the services on the internet, its incursion places it within the first 20 most visited options. Facebook and Mexico's National Electoral Institution have formed a powerful business alliance for this year's presidential election in Mexico. Facebook also accounts for most of the advertising budgets of 150 companies surveyed around the world, according to the 2016 e-commerce benchmark report. The document reveals that almost half of all marketing budgets are dedicated to this platform, and 71% of respondents stated that this expenditure was higher than the previous year. And finally, let's take a look at the markets. The Mexican peso increased 0.27% to 18.71 from 18.66 in the previous trading session. IPC Mexico decreased 180 points or 0.37% to 48,463 on Monday, February the 26th, from 48,643 in the previous trading session. This was all for today. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Elliot Bullman. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, and log on to MexicoNewsNetwork.com for more information on Mexico and the world. Until next time.